any financial behavior deemed suspicious or unusual. You must read The Secret War. It's free. Truth is, I believe the government's new war against cash is really a war against us all. But The Secret is now out. So please, get and read The Secret War.
Pick up your phone and call right now. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. Once again, that's 800-932-5517.
When we're
All right, welcome to the show, Fifth Street Soccer on the Sports Byline USA and SB Nation radio networks. I'm Nick Geber. It's a pleasure to be with you, as I am every weekday from 1 p.m. Pacific and then 6 p.m. Pacific again. It's Monday through Friday, so it is great to be with you. We've got a lot to talk about as the Premier League has put aside week one as it's now complete. We're going to look back at the first week of the Premier League. Let's see if there are any surprises, or is old new again, new old again, or is it just same old, same old? We're going to talk about the Premier League. 800-878-PLAY, 800-878-PLAY. If you have something to say, I'd like to chat with you right here on the show. Give us a call. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports Talk. You can find us on Twitter at Fifth Street Sports, and you can find us on the web at fifthstreetsports.com. So much to get to today, really, as we look back at the weekend. And I'm going to ask you this. With all the transfers in the transfer markets, with big money being spent by what might be considered the smaller teams in the Premier League, were you surprised with the results this weekend? I know we weren't here at Fifth Street Sports. If you had an opportunity to listen to the show on Friday, we gave you our picks for the weekend, and we were 7 out of 10. Which is really pretty good, and hopefully you had an opportunity to place a small wager based on our prognostications. And if you did, send us a picture of your new Lamborghini. We'd love to see it. You can post it on Facebook, facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports Talk. Let's talk about the new signings. Have they bedded in at their new clubs? How did they look to you? How good was Richarlison? I mean, were you surprised by that? And Naby Keita at Liverpool. I mean, this guy looks like to be an absolute phenom. On the other hand, some of the other newer players in the league didn't make quite as big of an impact. Let's chat about it right here on Fifth Street Sports. We got a lot to get to today. We really do. And a programming note, starting next week, you can get us at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be changing 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, starting next week. So be sure to make us a regular part of your week. All right, I'm Nick Geber. This is Fifth Street Soccer, 800-878-PLAY. We are talking Premier League football as week one is in the book. Let's look at the results. Can't wait to get to it, which we will do on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
When working at a growing business, you wear many hats. The new business hat, the buying toner for the copy machine hat, the sifting through tons of resumes hat. You can throw away that last hat thanks to Indeed.com. When posting your job, Indeed lets you add screener questions that give you a less time-consuming route to your short list of qualified candidates. So go ahead, dust off that extra long lunch hat. Hiring's better when you've got your short list. Save time on hiring when you post a job on Indeed. Get started today at Indeed.com/hire.
From the creator of The Simpsons and Futurama.
This is a bad time to be coming down off of that high.
Comes an epic tale.
I like war, but I wouldn't say I love it.
Of growing up.
Isn't there a point in everyone's life where they need to go figure out who they are?
In the Dark Ages.
I want to get rid of all the diseases plaguing mankind and replace them with worse ones.
Disenchantment.
Anybody looks at her, they get their head chopped off.
Boy, did I look at her.
Only on Netflix.
Attention to anyone that's written a book or wants to write a book. The process is not that complicated. Take a first step. Even if you write a page a day, you'll build momentum and your book will become a reality. The hard part is getting it published. That's when you need to call Page Publishing. They've got hundreds and hundreds of thank yous from different new authors, just like you. They make the process of publishing your new book and getting it sold online a simple process. You can learn how simple it is right now by calling for your free Page Publishing New Author Submission Kit. One quick 3-minute phone call, that's all it takes to get free information and learn how you can get your book published. Pick up your phone right now and call us 24 hours a day at this number. 800-603-0885. 800-603-0885. 800-603-0885. That's 800-603-0885.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1780. 855-325-1780. That's 855-325-1780.
Well, welcome back. Fifth Street Soccer, Sports Byline USA, SB Nation Radio, and American Forces. Hello to our men and women in uniform. It's great to have you with me here on Fifth Street Soccer on the Sports Byline Network. By the way, if you're listening on iHeart or TuneIn, we are also streaming live video on Facebook Live. So if you have an opportunity, go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports Talk and join the conversation. I'd love to hear from you. You can also call us in the studio if you would like. 800-878-PLAY. 800-878-PLAY. Well, the Premier League kicked off on Friday with Man United facing Leicester City in a game that I think a lot of people were very interested in because Mourinho, during the off-season, had been, let's just say a grouch. I can't think of a better word. A grouch, impetuous, grouchy, negative. My 9-year-old often acts up like that. Then I generally give him a timeout. But Ed Woodward, not likely to give Mourinho a timeout, but not also opening up the pocketbook the way that Mourinho would like. So Mourinho was doing some quality complaining in the off-season. All the talk was about Paul Pogba, the young phenom with Man United. By the way, a couple of years ago that Man United saw fit to basically get rid of for nothing, and then when they bought him back, he was the most expensive player Man United have ever signed. I mean, if you can get your head around that one. But Pogba is a great player, and all the talk was how unsettled he was. How Mourinho's saying, well, we need to get the best out of Pogba. We need to see the Pogba that played for France versus the Pogba that's been playing for Manchester United. So lots of discussion about him moving to Barcelona. There's still discussion about that because, of course, the European window, the continental window is open. The English window is shut. We're, of course, talking about the transfer window, if you don't know what I'm talking about. It still might happen. It's highly, highly unlikely, though. Of course, United then couldn't turn around and sign anybody else because the window's closed. But back to my point. My point is, for all the finger-pointing at Mourinho, for all the discussions about how he's lost the plot and how he has a bad third year and is this going to be it? Is he on the way out? When the team took the field, guess who was the captain? Paul Pogba. Guess who had a great game? Paul Pogba. Guess who scored the first goal in the Premier League? Paul Pogba. Jose Mourinho showing a few tricks that are still up his sleeve despite the sourpuss face, and he certainly got the best out of Pogba, who I thought in my watching of the game really played a massive part in United's performance. They went on to win 2-1 against Leicester. It's a little bit of the scoreline is maybe not indicative of the game, whereas Leicester did have more possession. United were 2-0 ahead until stoppage time when Jamie Vardy came on as a late substitute for Leicester and scored the goal to make it 2-1 to set up a sort of interesting finish for the last couple of minutes, but they didn't equalize. Which also brings a question, why didn't Vardy start? But that's a different question for another time. But back to Manchester United. So they kick off the league with a win. This is a team that we have predicted will finish third in the league, and they look every bit like that is probably where they're going to finish. Whether they're going to be able to close the gap on Manchester City and Liverpool, and we're going to get to that in a minute, is a different question. But if you watch Chelsea play, and you watched Arsenal play, and you watched Spurs play, I think for me over the weekend, Manchester United probably was the surprise, because we were all sort of expecting this massive implosion that never seemed to happen. Andrew, didn't you get that kind of impression as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he did as well. You see, it's not just me. I'm not just sitting in a vacuum with my thoughts. They are shared by others, which is always good. So Man United beat Leicester 2-1 on the Friday, and then on the Saturday we kicked off with a whole slate of matches. And the interesting thing for me about the weekend, we'll get into some of the matches specifically here in a minute, but the interesting thing for me, looking at the 10 matches that were played, because there's no Monday match, there's no match today in the Premier League, is that there were very few low-scoring games. Southampton-Burnley was a 0-0 draw, and by the way, we told you it was going to be a draw. And the other match that was a draw was Wolves-Everton. Now, we actually picked Wolves to win that match, but Everton really looked like they came out to do some business at the Molineux in front of the away crowd, the home crowd for Wolves. But even that was a 4-goal match. We had one match the entire weekend with no goals. The smallest number of goals we had after that was 2. So the goal scoring is out. The pace of the Premier League is evident. We're not seeing, 0-0s and 1-0s. I mean, we're seeing 4-0s, and we're seeing 3-0s, and we're seeing 2-2s. And that, I think, bodes well for the season as we look forward to the remaining 37 games that are left in the season, that we're going to have a very exciting season with loads and loads of goal scoring. And if you look at the money spent in the Premier League, I think you get an idea about exactly where that money has gone to. Some of the talking points I took out over the weekend, and this is what we're going to discuss on the show today. I want to talk to you about Manchester City, who came out and beat Arsenal 2-0 away at the Emirates. They look good. I'm going to get into that in detail. I would love to know what you thought about Arsenal. That was Unai Emery's first official Premier League match in charge. The first time in, 22 years that Arsene Wenger hasn't been on the sideline for Arsenal, and the result, shall we say, kind of picked up where Arsene Wenger left off last year, a 2-0 defeat to Manchester City. Liverpool, we're going to talk about them. They played a resurgent West Ham, who's flush with new signings. We're going to discuss that. Spurs went to St. James's Park and beat Newcastle. I would say that was an interesting game. It probably wasn't, for my money, one of the most exciting games of the weekend. Dele Alli and Vertonghen scoring for Spurs. But we're going to get to that. And Rafa Benitez at Newcastle, I'm just wondering, I've been trying to find the prop bets to see who's likely to be the first manager to get the sack or to leave. And I'm just wondering if that is going to be Rafa Benitez, who happens to be one of my favorites from his time in Liverpool. And when I had my goatee, people said I looked an awful lot like Rafa Benitez. But, I don't let that cloud my judgment. I like him, but I think he's frustrated that he's not getting the money that he needs to make signings to improve the team. And I think that's a sign of great frustration. The same frustration that Mourinho was showing at Manchester United. Now, some of the reporting on the back pages has been really fascinating, going back to Manchester United for a minute. I'm talking about how Ed Woodward and the Manchester United board have decided that Jose Mourinho is not to be trusted with signings. I let that sink in for a minute. Jose Mourinho is not to be trusted with signings. He pays too much for old players. He plays favorites. He likes to bring back players that have played with him, even if they're 85 years old. He plays way over market for them and then sulks if he doesn't get what he wants. So the big question for me as we look for Manchester United going forward, because I think on the pitch they look pretty good to me. This wasn't the sort of turmoil team that we were expecting, the turmoil team of disappointment that we saw during the money-spinning ICC matches over the summer. The big question really is, will Mourinho be able to deal with his new role, with his diminished power in the boardroom, not that he's in the boardroom, but his diminished power to spend money, and the fact that he's being sort of reined in a little bit by Ed Woodward and the Glazers? That's the question. If he can deal with that, if his ego can handle that, I believe we will see years 4, 5, and 6 from Mourinho at Manchester United. If he cannot, if results start to not go his way and the team starts to struggle, the first thing he is going to do is point a finger at Ed Woodward and the board and say, not my fault, their fault. I said this is what I wanted and they didn't give it to me. I'm going to throw my toys out of the pram. I'm going to stomp my feet. I'm going to have a temper tantrum, and I'm off. I'm off to greener pastures, whether it's the Portuguese national team or wherever he might go yet. So that really, for me, is going to be the acid test of Mourinho. As long as they're winning, as long as they're playing good football, as long as Pogba's happy, I think United will be set and should have a decent season, and Mourinho will be at the helm for this season and more. But if things go south and he starts to sulk, I think he will be off. What do you think? Let me know on Facebook, facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports. Come on, Manchester United fans, where are you? Your beloved Red Devils. I personally can't stand your team, but I won't let that cloud my judgment in my analysis. Well, maybe I will. Facebook, facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports Talk, or 800-878-PLAY. I'll be right back after this.
Are you an inventor who would like to try to have an invention or idea patented and submitted to companies, but you don't know what to do next? Call for free information from InventHelp. InventHelp, a leading inventor service company, has been helping inventors since 1984 and has sales offices located in more than 60 cities nationwide. You'll want to talk to the company that has helped secure more than 7,000 invention patents. So call InventHelp. Even if you have an idea for improving an existing product and don't know where to go with it, you'll still want to call InventHelp for free information. You'll find out how InventHelp may assist you in trying to patent your invention and submit it to companies. So call now.
Call InventHelp at 1-800-316-1738. That's 1-800-316-1738. Get your free information by dialing 1-800-316-1738. That's 1-800-316-1738. 1-800-316-1738.
Being a new parent means every high and low you can imagine. But Evos can make it all easier with a baby monitor you can trust. Go to myevos.com, that's MYEVOZ.com, to see how Evos can be the eyes and ears of your nursery. Evos works with your smartphone to provide a live audio and HD video connection to your baby anytime and anywhere. On a date, at work, away on business, even serving your country overseas, Evos helps you never miss a moment. Whether your baby is with a sitter, your partner, a grandparent, or a friend, you'll be right there too. And with unique features like smart alerts that know the difference between a barking dog and your baby crying, extensive sleep tracking data, and state-of-the-art security features for your peace of mind, Evos is the smart baby monitor for connected parents. And enter the code SPORTS at checkout for $20 off. That's myevos.com. MYEVOZ.com.
Results may vary, not a solicitation for legal services. If you owe the IRS back taxes, payroll taxes, or have not filed your returns, the IRS will get you. They can take your property, take you to court, even put you in jail. One call to Wall & Associates, and your tax problems are solved. Wall has saved clients over $150 million in the last 5 years. Our average client settles for about 10% of what is owed. With one call to Wall, you'll never need to talk to the IRS again. We offer free face-to-face consultations in your local area. Remember, Wall has a proven track record with a total client savings over $150 million. Call now for your free face-to-face consultation. 800-813-9940. 800-813-9940. 800-813-9940.
All right, welcome back to the show. Fifth Street Soccer, Sports Byline USA, SB Nation Radio. I'm Nick Geber. It's great to be with you today as we are looking back at week one of the Premier League, taking a look at some of the surprises. If there were that many surprises, I think that really is, I think that's really the way to see it. I mean, we were expecting a very different Premier League this year, maybe. Some people were. Not sure I was. But there's sort of big discussion with all the big money signings and everything else going around the league. Were we going to see the change? The top six is where all the jostling for position really is going to be between Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, and Tottenham. How's that going to shake out? How do things look? And what I took away from week one was kind of more of the same. Let's talk about Manchester City for a minute. They played Arsenal in the Sunday match, and this was the most mouth-watering match. Forget match. This was the most mouth-watering matchup of the weekend, certainly. But I have to say, it was one of the more dire and unimpressive matches of the weekend. Yeah, Manchester City won. Arsenal looked at 6s and 7s. I don't know what else to say. I mean, they were at home at the Emirates, and they just didn't get anything together. They looked short of talent, short of speed, short of ideas, no finishing. And I'm not quite sure what Unai Emery's trying to do there. I mean, it's only the first game, so obviously he has 37 more to make a run for it if he lasts that long. But I don't know. They were very, very unimpressive. Manchester City, however, scored an early goal from Raheem Sterling, went on to win 2-0. I suppose if there's ever a sort of poster child for what one might say is a comfortable win, it was Manchester City. If you look at the stats for the game, it was they owned 58% of the possession. They had 8 shots on goal as opposed to 3 for Arsenal. I mean, the stats, sometimes you read these stats and you say, the stats aren't really indicative of how the game was. Well, this one really was. I mean, they had 730 touches on the ball to 590 for Arsenal. And I hate stats like this, guys. But the reason that I'm giving them to you is just so that I can sort of make the point stick that Arsenal were, in my opinion, just horrible. They looked like mid-table mediocrity was written all over them for the season. And I know they didn't make a ton of signings. I know Unai Emery is a new manager in charge. I expected more. I kept waiting for the sort of brilliance of the manager, some great substitutions to happen, a change in formation, a strategic and tactical move mid-game but it was none of that. It was really like watching a bad team play a good team. And I'm just wondering, for fans of Arsenal, where are you? Where are you on this? I mean, the Wenger out crowd was very vocal, and I certainly think it was time for Wenger to move on. He was there a long time. The team had gone from, had a really incredible run maybe 10 years ago, and now, not great. Sort of top table, absolutely, but, top portion of the table, but they never really, they haven't looked in many, many years like they're really going to, shall we say, challenge for the title. So it was time for Wenger to go, but I was very surprised that in the off-season they were as quiet as they were, combined with the fact that on this first match where you're playing the champions, look, if there's ever a match where you want to come out and make a statement, you want to say, hey, Wenger's gone, new Arsenal is here, we're not going to be pushovers, we're going to do more than win one away game all season. Remember, last year, Arsenal won one away game all season, and that came late in the season too. You would think that they would want to set down a marker, even if it was a 2-1 loss or a 3-2 but my goodness, 2-0 getting tonked, 2-0 at home, and this is where I'm going with this, by a Manchester City side, folks, that I didn't think looked all that great. And I'm not sure if it's just Man City are sort of at this point in their life. I mean, they came out with Riyad Mahrez, who's their big signing, and he certainly looked useful out there, no doubt about it. But once Sterling scored early on, it just kind of, what's that saying? Meh. Andrew, did you see the game?
I did not.
It was meh. I mean, for me, this was the match everyone was waiting for. And after I watched the Liverpool match, West Ham in the morning, to see this match was, quite frankly, disappointing, to say the least. And to top that all off, today, Ian Wright, the BBC and ITV pundit, the Arsenal legend, came out and said that he thought the criticism of Raheem Sterling was racist. And this is a whole topic. And we're going to get into this later on in the show. But I wonder why he would say that. I personally don't agree at all with him. I couldn't agree less with him. I think he's completely off base, completely off target. And I'm going to tell you why, but we're going to get into that next segment. But this is sort of the stuff that's surrounding Manchester City. They look good. They didn't look great. Everyone's sort of pegging them as repeat champions for the first time since, 2009. I have pegged them to be repeat champions for the first time since 2009. After the first day of matches, I am possibly changing my tune. I'm not there yet because this is a team that dominated the Premier League with 100 points last season. But what has happened in the off-season is a range of teams have become much better around them. And I think, we joined by Nick Webster? I think we are, aren't we? Yes, we are. Hey, Nick Webster, glad you could join us. Nick, we are in the middle of discussing the Manchester City-Arsenal game. Number one, how just awful Arsenal looked. And number two, how meh Manchester City looked. What was your take on the game?
Oh, I think that was a little harsh, Mr. Geber. I thought City looked outstanding in spells and obviously fully deserved the 3 points. But for Arsenal's first game, I mean, you are playing the champions. You are playing a team that has absolutely destroyed you the last 3 times you've met. And I think Emery's still, it's obviously a work in progress. A lot of new players. So it was around about what I expected Arsenal to lose, and I think we certainly called this result. But no, I think City looked wonderful. I think I haven't heard what you've said earlier in the show, so you're probably comparing them to what Liverpool did. And if you compare any performance to Liverpool, they lose their sheen. But no, I thought City looked very comfortable, and I know it's only one weekend in, but it already looks like a 2-horse race to me.
Yeah, well, that was going to be the next part that I was going to get to. I have an echo here. Is that coming through by any chance? No? Okay, good. That was a point that I was going to get to, in that, we've talked about all the signings and teams like West Ham are adding all these players and all the big money spent by some of the teams that you're just scratching their heads saying, there's way too much money floating around the Premier League. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like normal services resumed, Nick.
Well, yes, you could say normal service was resumed. And, if we look at what happened last year, the big boys did exactly what we thought they would do. Spurs winning, Chelsea winning, although I didn't think they would win as comfortably as they did. And, even then I wasn't particularly impressed with how they won. But yeah, there's a certain case for saying normal service is resumed. But let's see what happens when 3 or 4 weeks in, where people are beginning to understand their roles. I mean, it's so embryonic that to jump to any conclusions, I think, would be a little bit hasty.
Yeah, no, I would certainly agree with that, Nick. It is, and I keep making the point on the show that this is, week 1 and there are 37 more to go. So There's a lot. It is the old adage, it's a marathon and not a sprint, and the starter's pistol has truly just fired. But we did see some stuff early on. In the last segment, Nick, I spoke a little bit about Manchester United. And for all the whining of Mourinho, Pogba emerging as captain, scoring the penalty, leading the team, you and I picked Manchester United to finish third. I still think that's very reasonable. I think they're going to be a lot more competitive this year, maybe than people have given them credit for, especially given Mourinho's off-season whining. That's one of the things I took away from the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, look, United, I was puzzled by United. I thought they started quite brilliantly. I thought, in some regards, a bit of a masterstroke making Pogba captain.
Absolutely.
And really, I'd have to take my hat off to Sanchez to say, he didn't throw his toys out the pram when he wasn't going to take the penalty. And I know, he likes to take the penalties for the team and get his name on the scorer sheet. So I think Sanchez realized the importance of Pogba and keeping Pogba happy. And I think Pogba responded in fashion. I thought he was quite brilliant throughout the game. But the interesting thing for me, though, was that after United started so brightly, it was almost like the cloud of Jose Mourinho came back over them, and they started sitting back in their shell a little bit. And then Leicester were dominating the game and creating the chances. Yeah. And I actually thought Leicester looked quite good. And for me, that was a bit of a disappointment because I thought, and you and I discussed it, that Friday was a big statement game for United, even though it's the first game of the season. But you score an early goal. Now put your foot down on the pedal and show everybody exactly what you're about. But I think the shadow of Mourinho and his tactical defensive ways are very hard to break down for the United team.
All right, we're going to go to break. I welcome back to the show my co-host, Nick Webster. We're going to step aside, take a break, be right back. When we come back, let's talk about Ian Wright saying the criticism of Raheem Sterling is racist. Interesting viewpoint. And also, let's discuss Liverpool and Everton. Let's discuss the Merseyside teams. We'll be right back after this.
I'm Ryan Burke. I'm the head cider maker at Angry Orchard, and we're in Brittany, France. I wanted to make Angry Orchard rosé cider out of my love for rosé wine. We came here and found these red-fleshed apples. These are really rare fruit. The apple brings a right, refreshing, natural taste to the cider and a deep, nice pink rosé hue. Our rosé is a little bit less sweet. It's got a really nice balance for any occasion. It's a really refreshing drink.
Angry Orchard Cider Company, Walden, New York. Drink responsibly.
Do you have Medicare and do you use a CPAP machine? This is a national healthcare alert regarding your CPAP supplies. Using a clean CPAP mask and clean supplies is important to staying healthy. The best way to make sure your CPAP equipment is clean is to get new supplies. If you have Medicare, we have great news. Medicare will pay for you to have new clean supplies every 90 days. We'll even do all the paperwork for you to make sure that there's little to no out-of-pocket cost to you. And you don't even have to leave your home. We provide free in-home delivery. So if you're a CPAP user and you have Medicare, staying healthy with new CPAP equipment is easy. Just make this free phone call right now to get started.
Call the CPAP hotline now. 800-430-4234. 800-430-4234. That's 800-430-4234. Copays and deductibles apply. Supplies are replaced in accordance with Medicare guidelines.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-535-7789. 800-535-7789. 800-535-7789. That's 800-535-7789.
I just can't stop scratching.
Struggling to get relief from itching due to your atopic dermatitis, also known as eczema? If so, you may qualify for a clinical study testing an investigational medication for the itch associated with atopic dermatitis. Qualified participants will receive study-related care at no charge. Call 1-844-777-4824, 1-844-777-ITCH, or visit advandastudy.com for more information on how to participate. Sponsored by Vanda Pharmaceuticals.
All right, welcome back to the show, Fifth Street Soccer, Sports Byline USA. Nick Eber and Nick Webster with you, discussing week 1 of the Premier League. And the big story for me, anyway, right now, well, let's just not say the big story, an interesting story, is Ian Wright, a BBC pundit, an ITV pundit, former Arsenal legend. If you don't know who Ian Wright is or was as a player, I mean, prolific, one of the legends of Arsenal. Like, I think you'd have to put him into that pantheon, Nick Webster. But he said that the criticism of Raheem Sterling during the World Cup and afterwards is racist. What do you think of that, Nick?
Well, it's a pretty inflammatory statement by Wrighty. I think there was definitely some Sterling baiting going on, but I wouldn't say it was racist, because the English media, when it comes to footballers and the England football team, they pretty much don't care about color. They'll just hammer you for whatever reason it comes to mind. I mean, I cast my mind back to 1990. I mean, before the World Cup had even begun, Paul Gascoigne was lauded as a complete and utter idiot and a disgrace to English football. 6 weeks later, he's played like a champion, and all of a sudden he's the crown prince of English football. So I think that's a bit strong by Ian Wright to suggest that it's racist, and I'd love to know more of his thoughts on that subject, because Raheem Sterling has made somewhat of a target for himself. His lifestyle choices and tattoos. Not that I care anything about that. What I care about is what he's done on the field, what he's done on the pitch, and what he does for Manchester City is outstanding. And to be fair for England, I thought he had a good World Cup, although his personal stats probably don't back that up.
Well,
I'd be very interested to see what Wrighty's got to say about that.
Well, I'm going to quote him now. So he says, quote, "How many people do you see get the criticism that Sterling gets?"
Everybody.
Yeah, I know. That's our comment. But then he says the football criticism is something every player has to deal with. But what he gets, I don't see any other footballer getting. They don't get that stick because for whatever reason, they don't rub the people in the corridors of power the wrong way. I think there's an agenda against him, and I think there's an element of people at the high end of the media who want to keep the guy down, period. Simple. When you look at the wave of criticism that he takes, there's a certain amount of racism towards it. What else can it be? They're picking on him because of the background he's come from, and they want to keep him down, drag him back down, and they don't want him to continue to be a success. Now, look, I couldn't disagree more with Ian Wright in this situation. I'm the first one to call out racism when I see it. We have no room for that in our modern culture. As human beings, there's no room for that. I think the criticism of Raheem Sterling is something totally different. First of all, I think it's mislaid criticism. I think we have to accept the fact that Raheem Sterling is not a natural finisher, that his final touch isn't great. But what he does outside of that is invaluable to any team he plays for, whether it was Liverpool when he was on Liverpool, whether it was Manchester City, he's on Manchester City, or England. He opens the pitch up, he drives at defenders super fast, he opens up all sorts of space, and things happen around him. What I think is happening is there's a general disappointment that he's not a great finisher, because if he was a great finisher, he would be a truly great player. And I think that's where it comes from. I don't think it's his impetuousness or his sort of gangster attitude at times. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think we're all grown-ups. We all see modern athletes and young kids now reaching the pinnacles of success that have that same attitude. And I personally couldn't give a snot about that. It's what he does on the pitch. That's my take, Nick. I think it's a general disappointment more than anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, for Ian Wright to say, they're putting him down and they hope he's not a success, well, you know what? Raheem Sterling could retire from football today and retire as a multi-millionaire.
Yep.
I would like to be put down for that kind of success.
Yeah. I don't see the racism, Nick. I really don't. I just think, but the last comment I made, I just think, the English media is desperate to find the Premier League English superstar. And I think people look at Raheem Sterling and say, oh my, he's got 97% of everything that he needs, but that 3% is what's missing.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. Look, why are we, fixating on his football? He's a great footballer.
Yes, he is.
I mean, he's a top 20. Well, he's obviously a top 20 English footballer because Gareth Southgate believed in him and took him to a World Cup. I mean, he's one of the top 20 footballers in the Premiership. Is he the finished article? Absolutely not. But let's think about how old is he? Raheem Sterling, I believe, is 23 years of age. He has so much growing to do, not only as a footballer, but as a human being. And to be fair, Nick, I watched the post-match interview on NBC of the Arsenal-Man City game, and he came across as a quite lovely, level-headed, level-grounded young man.
Yep.
And so maybe Wrighty's looking for some clickbait, and it's been a slow day at the office, and he realized he made a terrible mistake sitting on that Fox panel for the last 6 weeks.
Well, Nick, I couldn't agree more with you on this particular instance. And what upsets me is we have to call out racism where we see it. I just don't see it here. I think there's so many other examples that we can look at, but this isn't one of them. Raheem Sterling is an integral part of Manchester City, and he creates so much more. He gives so much more than what he doesn't give. On balance, he's an incredible asset to any team. So then that's from a guy that's not a Manchester City fan and, of course, is angry at Raheem Sterling for leaving Liverpool. So there you have it. I think Wrighty's full of crap, to be fair.
Yeah, it seems a strange one, and maybe he's heard something that we haven't. And if he has heard something, well, please let us know.
Yeah, love to hear it. And if you have a thought or opinion about that, and you think we're off base, please let us know. As Nick said, if we're missing something, tell us. We'll call it out right here on the show. We got no room in my football for racism, period. You bring it, you show us, we'll call it out. Facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports Talk. Nick, let's change the topic to something that makes me a lot happier than talking about the shadows of racism, and that is, wow, Liverpool Football Club looked absolutely unstoppable. And Nick, we talk about new signings making an impact. How good is Naby Keita?
Yeah, Keita looks like the real deal. I mean, he's wearing number 8. That's a very big number to fill. If you're a Liverpool history, it was the number worn by Steven Gerrard for the last 300 years. And yeah, I mean, he looked great. And I thought Liverpool were absolutely fantastic. But I do want to say, Nick, I was pretty disappointed with the old Atmos at Anfield for the majority of the game. I could hear the players. I could hear the players and managers barking. And I'm thinking to myself, there's 50,000 people there. What are they doing? It was almost like it was Gladiator. And I was expecting Jurgen Klopp to stop the game and say, are you not entertained?
You people will make a noise. You will cheer.
I mean, this is Liverpool. This is Anfield we're talking about.
And Nick, I think the new addition to the stadium, the prawn cocktail crowd, making themselves not heard. It's funny that you bring that up, Nick, because there were 2 other instances of lack of atmosphere that I noticed. I thought the Molineux at times seemed like, I mean, I know it was a tough match for them, but I thought at times the Molineux wasn't the cauldron that I was expecting it to be. It also went very quiet a number of times, as did Old Trafford.
Old Trafford's been notoriously quiet for so long. I've got a good mate who's also a Liverpool fan, so I don't know why he's a good mate. And his theory is that the 3 o'clock kickoffs don't suit Anfield anymore. He says the night games and the European games that are obviously played at night, the atmosphere is always cooking, but at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon does get a little quiet. I'm not sure what's going on. I mean, my own theory has everything to do with standing areas.
Yeah.
And having gone to the new stadium at the Bank of California, where they have that 3,500 people standing at that stadium. I mean, the noise generated at that stadium for an MLS game is fantastic. So, I know they're really looking closely into bringing back standing, certainly in the championship, and hopefully it goes to the Premiership and the atmosphere of games can improve. But regardless of the atmosphere, Liverpool were fantastic, and they really laid down a very positive marker.
Yeah, against a West Ham side that's had some incredible signings in the off-season. I think we're all expecting to do fairly well this season. They just looked completely outmatched, outclassed, and shocked. What I noticed about Liverpool was that for the first time they were able to maintain that Klopp pace throughout most of the game. There was very little. There was only very short instances where the pace really slowed down for them. And I tell you what, Alisson didn't have to make really any difficult saves, but boy, that is one enormous goalkeeper. And he looked extremely confident on the ball.
I mean, I think the whole Liverpool team looked confident. And to your point about pressing football, I mean, I was really impressed. Forgive the pun. That every time Liverpool did lose the ball, there was 2, 3, 4, 5 players, surrounding the opponent, and West Ham for all their new signings really had no idea how to deal with it. And I mean, when you looked at the opening fixtures of the weekend, poor West Ham and Arsenal were probably like, oh, thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, Nick, let's talk about Everton for a minute, because you and I had picked. I thought Everton was going to win this game. You talked me out of that and thought that Wolves were going to, welcome them to the cauldron. First of all, talk about new signings making an impact. I mean, how good was Richarlison? 2 goals, and then on top of which, get a goal when Everton are a man down with Jagielka getting sent off on what I thought actually was a very iffy red card. I mean, it was definitely a yellow. I didn't see that as a straight red. Everyone else seems to think so, but apparently not me. But wow, I thought pretty good performance from Everton. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Richarlison certainly was the name that popped up in everybody's lips at the end of it, because one was a scrappy goal, but his second goal was real class. And he's so young, and I'll tell you a story about Richarlison. Well, it's not a very interesting story, but he was on my EPL fantasy team at the beginning of last year because he could do no wrong. And then after about 8 weeks of a Premier League season, he just disappeared from nowhere. So I'm hoping that that's not going to happen again and get on a fast start and disappear. I think the expectations on him, thanks to the size of the transfer fee, are very high. But that first, as we've said many times, and it sounds like an old cliche now, but it takes time to get used to the Premiership. And maybe, he's got that year under his belt. He's now got a proper preseason under him. Silva plays expansive, progressive football. I thought Everton were decent. The red card, I mean, I could side with you on that one, but I can see why it was given. But I thought Wolves showed a lot of stick-to-itness, if that's even a word, and just kept on plugging away. And Neves is, I think he's a player that we should watch out for. Very awesome set piece and then a fantastic cross. So I expect actually both teams to do very well.
Yeah, it's going to be a great Premier League season, and this week we'll be talking about more of the teams and more of the matches that we've just seen in some more detail. The last thing I'm going to say is, what is up with Santos, the manager of Wolves, Nick? I mean, I expect him to have a sign that said, "Will work for food." That man needs some grooming.
Well, to be fair, though, my wife and I were watching it, and then during the downpour, Silva looked like a drowned rat because he was there in his suit. Meanwhile, Santos had the rain gear on, and it was probably very dry underneath. So I would say that Santos was probably the smarter of the two managers there. But yes, he does look a bit disheveled.
All right, we're going to go to break. Fifth Street Soccer. We'll be right back here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network.
If you or a loved one is suffering from a physical or emotional condition that has left you unable to work, then listen carefully. Take this number down: 800-593-7491. That's 800-593-7491. When you call, you'll speak with a Social Security disability expert and get a free evaluation to see if you may qualify for disability insurance benefits from the U.S. government. That's right, a monthly cash payment paid directly to you from the Social Security Administration. Whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied disability benefits, call now. The disability attorneys at Pinnacle Disability can help you build your case, file an appeal, and represent you at no upfront cost to you. Don't wait another minute to see if you may qualify for your Social Security disability benefits. Call Pinnacle Disability Group at 800-593-7491 for your free case evaluation. That's 800-593-7491. 800-593-7491. Call now.
If you are age 85 or younger, call to learn more about final expense plans from a licensed agent in the Angel Care Network. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. Are you at risk of leaving loved ones to help pay your debts? A final expense policy for seniors can pay up to $30,000 for funeral and other final expenses. You don't need a medical exam, and you can have lifetime coverage, and the policy cannot be canceled. To receive free information about final expense plans from a licensed agent in the Angel Care Network, call now. You'll also receive information about a free prescription discount card just for calling in. Agents are standing by.
Call 800-508-5774. 800-508-5774. 800-508-5774. Call now. That's 800-508-5774.
Not too long ago, it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank, didn't it? For a vacation or a new car. But today, withdrawing your own cash has become risky. Pat Boone here for Swiss America. According to The Secret War, a new Swiss America white paper, I learned that all banks are now required to spy on you and me for the government, and then report any financial behavior deemed suspicious or unusual. You must read The Secret War. It's free. Truth is, I believe the government's new war against cash is really a war against us all. But the secret is now out. So please, get and read The Secret War.
Pick up your phone and call right now. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. Once again, that's 800-932-5517.
Well, folks, welcome back. Fifth Street Soccer, we're with you this week, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then again at 6 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern. And just a programming note, next week we start at 6 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. That's 9 p.m. Eastern time, so be sure to make us a regular part of your week as we continue to follow the Premier League and other leagues around the world as they get going. Barcelona kick off the Spanish league in style. The league hasn't actually started, but they did win the was it the Super Cup? Wasn't the Super Cup? It was the
Super Cup. Yes.
Yeah.
Spanish Super Cup.
Yeah, Spanish Super Cup. Snooze. But okay, we'll get to all of that, I suppose. The Premier League for me is where the big action is. We did have some great matches over this last weekend, which we will continue to talk about throughout the week. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports Talk. One thing we didn't talk about today that we'll probably get to tomorrow is ESPN Plus have picked up the FA Cup because it was bundled as part of an ESPN rights package for Serie A. So we talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, and now the World Cup is over, I can say his name again. Isn't it interesting? Cristiano Ronaldo moves to Juventus. All of a sudden, big money in rights, TV rights, suddenly pouring into Serie A, Nick. This is a topic of discussion for another day, but pretty interesting, wouldn't you say?
Well, and another interesting bungle from Fox. I mean, what do they have left?
Well, we're going to talk about it. Let's talk about that this week as well. The rights situation and all of the broadcasters now switching to sort of the paid premium online streaming platform. Let's discuss it, whether you like it or hate it. So be sure to join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network, facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports Talk. And again, we do broadcast this show live there as well. You can also find us at Twitter, Fifth Street Sports. For me, Nick Geber, and my better late than never co-host, Nick Webster. We're going to chat to you tomorrow, so be sure to get ready to let your fingers do the dialing to give us a call in the studio, because we want to hear from you. That one makes it so much fun. Until tomorrow, folks, have a great night. Stay safe. And we'll speak to you tomorrow.
USA Radio News.